Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on revolutionizing manufacturing, unlocking speed, accuracy, and efficiency with PIM and DAM. I am Chris Lehman, Vice President of Professional Services with Censhare. I have been working on the Censhare platform for over 10 years, and I've actually worked across many different areas. I started off as a client, and then I moved over into the partner side, and then recently just joined the Censhare team wholly last year. Joining me today is one of our partners, Ken Zordani from Avyre. Ken, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Chris, did you want to share your screen by chance?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was happening already.
Not a problem. As Chris shares his screen, kind of a little bit about us. Avyre, we are a full service agency, have been in the DAM space and PIM space nearly 20 years, almost before they were acronyms. We have definitely, we are full service, so consulting, activation, lots of migrations, really try to be the advocate for the customer, a premier partner for Censhare, and definitely looking forward to seeing what the system may do, kind of where you're at in your journey, and kind of the next 30 minutes.
Perfect. Thanks, Ken. Looking forward to this, and one of many times I've done presentations with Ken. So what are we going to go over today? What we're going to really talk about is really the DAM and PIM capabilities and how getting those functionalities together in one system and where the benefit is for that. So how it can help you be faster to market and drive some more of those decisions for you. We have some practical examples that we're going to go over, and then we're actually going to go in and jump into the system and see it in action, where we go through some different manufacturing examples, talk about how we can make things better for you across three main areas here. So what we really see as some of the critical challenges are really accuracy, speed, and efficiency. And we're going to keep talking about these over and over today, because really we want you to be more accurate, because we run into problems where if you don't have or know where that single source of truth is, how are you going to be accurate? How are you going to find the right information? But then when you have that, we can then use automations to make speed to market even faster, make it easier for you to do updates, but then everything makes you more efficient. So we'll show a lot of these examples as we're going through, like push button publishing and how things are going to update automatically. So a lot of that's going to be what we're going to do to try to help these critical challenges that we see on the manufacturing side. And this all really starts with how Censhare is in a unique position. Being a DAM and PIM solution, we're able to bring those two together. So on the DAM side, we have the ability to store all of your assets, not just your branding information, the photos, all of that, even down to text, is all able to be stored within our DAM system. But then on our PIM side, we're able to tie that together then into maybe your PLM or your MDM, pull in all of that product information, get that feeds in and out, enrich that by creating those relations to that imagery so that you get your DAM side and your PIM side all together. And that's really where we overlap and get this sweet spot. There are not a lot of systems out there that are a full true DAM and a full true PIM. Censhare is one of the only ones out there. And we're really able to bring this all together by building up your workflows, having end-to-end production management along your products, but then also your marketing information. So everything's able to be tied together without having to jump back and forth between systems or know where to find that piece of truth, because you could be in multiple different systems. Having it in one is really where you can be more beneficial.
Yeah, as we're kind of diving into how this well-architected DAM and PIM system can transform, revolutionize, you hear all these terms. It's the way manufacturers want to manage, distribute, and really optimize kind of their product information. But, there's 6 key areas that we commonly see with a lot of our clients that have moved from that spreadsheet hell or siloed systems into this enterprise platform, and it's improving their overall operations. As you kind of read through some of these, right? The one key foundation is having everything in that source of truth, which, once you have that foundation, it makes things so much easier for everybody. Getting out of spreadsheet hell, or what is it, organized chaos, other people will say. Once you have the foundation, it's really building that data model and allows for the accelerated product onboarding. So how do you bring in new products? How do you bring in new vendors? And then syndicating to your channels at lightning speed. Is it downstream to your marketplaces? Is it to your B2B channels? Or is it even to your own e-commerce website? We'll kind of talk a little bit about that here during the presentation. And then with the right technology in place, and we kind of establish that healthy program and the data hygiene, you can have the best system, but you got to have everything really kind of synchronized. It's creating the automations through rules or workflows, approvals, really pushing that speed to market. That is our key focus, driving better operations. From there, we're looking at, creating, once we have kind of that program, it's creating the structures and helping automate the product catalogs, the specification sheets, installation instructions that are always so manual for everyone and suck up so much time. So when that customer calls, hey, I'm missing these nuts and bolts from this furniture I'm trying to put together, your customer service will have all the information at the tip of their finger, really delighting our customer. Or they can self-service on e-commerce and ship direct to their house, right? In the real world, we want to consistently measure our effort. What is the data telling us? How do we adjust and really achieve the results that we want as a business? And kind of taking back that time that has been so manual and driving the conversations that are key to success, right? From that, there's kind of, 3 real metrics that we've seen to really improve kind of I would say ROI to your investment, right? When we look at the aggregate from our current manufacturing customers, 70% of it is the improved accuracy. When you have everything in a single source of truth, you can see product data, you can see marketing content, you can see translations, you see all the specifications to your products, and it's just really driving a unique experience. From that, right, you're also moving from siloed systems and poor data practices and maybe even lack of integrations or overly complex workflows to impact your go-to-market, your conversion rates, and most importantly, customer satisfaction scores, right? If you can drive, on average, our clients 75% faster to market, your CFO is really going to love you. You can do things that you really are truly passionate about on working on the business. But, really, what does that mean in terms of technology when there's so much tech debt that's out there and just frustrations of bouncing back and forth? Censhare can bring your product teams, your creative, your marketing, your brand teams, and meld those all together to generate that percentage and ROI back to the business really, really well. What does that mean in terms of metrics? You see 1,500 hours saved. If you're a global company and you're not having to enrich with metadata because you have integrations, you can automate some of your tech spec sheets and PDFs out to your website. 1,500 hours, that's a lot of time. That's a couple FTEs, but multiply that with all your brands, all your users globally, that goes up exponentially. So in a perfect world, I would say that is turning the impossible into the possible with a good practice and establishing a foundation. So, Chris, let's kind of jump into Censhare and kind of walk through some of those scenarios, and we can kind of see where that goes from there. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. Let's take a look at the system here. So what we have on the screen here is going to be our standard demo system. So there's going to be terminology that could be different than what we have, that what you use in your system. Everything is configurable within here. So if you think about something in a different way, we can make that change very quickly within our system here. So please don't get hung up on any terminology. One thing, besides forgetting to share my screen before, I also forgot to mention that feel free to use the chat and ask questions. Ken's going to be taking a look at that. So if anything comes up while we're going, be happy to answer those questions as we're going along, or then as time we have at the end too, we'll be able to answer those as well.
Yep.
So within our system here, we can take a look at our product structure. Our products, our whole system is based off of a graph database, and that allows us to be very flexible with our structures and the way that we work with our data. So unlike some PIM systems where you only have one structure, we're able to have multiple different structures within our system here. So here we have a master category, we have a GPC category, you could do something with a GS1 standard. We also have one for export. So unlike a traditional file system that you'd have on your Mac or your PC, where you only have a file in one folder, an asset within Censhare with our graph database is able to be in multiple places at once if you need it to be, so that you can build up these different structures, allowing people to only see what they need to see, have access to what they need to have access to, but then also being very flexible to work on going forward. So in our example here, we can take a look at our master category and go down to our furniture, and we're going to take a look at a chair. So our first chair that we have within here, once we open this up, we can start to see the information that goes into this. Our system allows us to work with compound assets. So a product is really built up of multiple different assets and multiple different relationships. So being able to take the product data that we can come in, that might be coming from your MDM or your PLM system, we can pull all that information in. Could be coming from an Excel sheet, as Ken was saying. There's a lot of people that start that way too, but we can bring that in, and then you can either manage it all within here by being editable, or it's always going to get that feed in. But then we can also build that up with images, content, and then also different product items. So we can take a look at some of the data that we have here. We can see that this chair is actually in 2 different categories already. So talking about those multiple relationships, and we have some base metadata within here, the GTIN, and then the offer information. If we go in and then look at the product items, these would be like different variants or versions of this, so that we can have a black, gray. They can also have different pieces for like the different legs or other items that go into it as well. But we can see then this is actually would be considered a child item, and we can inherit metadata within here too. So we can see that we're pulling in the brand and pricing information from that parent. Again, if you wanted to have that opportunity, it could be individually and edited here as well.
So Chris, as you talk about this kind of, as DAM and PIM really evolve into kind of a one platform, it's bringing the modular content where you can have dark brown legs or white legs, or a white chair versus a black chair, and build that configuration to a customer's needs through this graph database. It really interconnects through a spider web of relationships and rules to really drive how you want to move and adjust to the market.
Yeah. And then being able to build up with other pieces too. So we're separating like media from the product data, so that you're able to actually run these in different work streams as well. So everything can have its own workflow. So we can actually take a look that this is a separate asset within here, and it has its own workflow. So we're able to run these in parallel, and that's where you get some of your efficiencies. So not only with imagery, product data, but then also content. So the text that goes along with this. And this isn't something that every DAM or PIM can do either, where they actually can handle text as an asset, so separate than from just metadata. Everything can do like a text field, but this is actually a what you see is what you get, or WYSIWYG editor, where you can come in here and do all of your copywriting directly in the system, and then see it previewed, and even see it on your website as an example, or in different output channels as you're building this up. So you get all that information in one place, and it could also be done by separate teams. Again, getting those benefits within there. We're also able to take a look at components. So building up all these relationships. Ken mentioned the ability, like if something is missing. So we have parts. So you're able to build this up, these relationships, all the way down to its smallest common denominator within here. And then you're also able to see everywhere where this is used. So if we take a look at this one screw, and we can then take a look at its relationships, you're very quickly and easy able to see where this is all used. So if there's an update to this, it's going to update in every one of these pieces. So we've had clients before where they have relationships, so that you have a product, and then there's a sub product that goes into that, and maybe a specification changes, the size of it changes, or the ability for it to be good up to like 400 degrees. And we asked them, how did you make those changes in the past? And they said, we kind of didn't, because there was no easy way for them, because it was a sub piece of another piece. There was no relationship within there. So building up these relationships through everything not only allows it to be very friendly for your customer service, but it's also all about that data accuracy, because when you make that update, you update it once and it updates in many different places.
So imagine if you're tracking the number of grams of sugar in a product that's coming in from your MDM system or ERP or PLM system, however you guys are operating. It feeds into Censhare. It's associated throughout the system through rules and inheritance, updates your nutrition guide for that product, and then it can push out to, either One World Sync or GDSN data pools or things of that nature. Or if you have a legal disclaimer on a certain product, that is an asset inside the system. You make the change, and if it's associated to, say, 35 different technical data sheets, it is updated. It can go through a legal review, and then it's pushed out. Most of the time, if it's all manual, never happens. That's why, hitting compliance with certain companies is always very tough.
Yeah, exactly. This is an example. In this case, we call it a product feature story. We have this related. Again, you can see everywhere it is. And I like this story before I was working, before we got Censhare, when we had to update something and find a disclaimer, we'd have to go to a filing cabinet, open it up, and page through the actual pieces to figure out where it is. Now we're able to come in and find the actual disclaimer and see everywhere it is. Makes it a lot more efficient for people to find those pieces where they've been used, but then also if it has to update, knowing what has to update is a very big deal too. Jumping over to another product here with our table, again, set up in a similar structure where we have our different product items, so our different types of wood within here, but we're also able to bring in different media. So we have all of the different media, not just product shots, but then we have one, for example, let's talk about the different measurements that you have within here. Everything can be related into this product and do these different things, but then we can also take in a 3D model. So we're able to grab in this information and have this 3D model here. So now you have a model, you have the information, you have the different variants. You can then push that out to a website. And one of our clients actually does this. Our client Vitra is able to take all of their information around their products, around their imagery, push it out to their website, and actually build a configurator within here too. So taking a 3D model, you can come in here so you're actually seeing what you're building. Come in and see your different size options. So depending on what it is, you can choose either different sizes and different finishes, and there could be many different options within here so that you're actually able to come in and see all of the different things. As I continue to click through here, you can see all the different options. So everything is being related together within here, and you're able to do this. But then you're also able to take this, add it to a cart, and send it out. So we're actually taking the information from within Censhare, pushing it out to your website, but then also using that for order information. So it really builds up all of these different options within there, and you have one single source of truth pushed out to these different places, allowing you to make sure that everything is correct as you're going across. And then we're also able to build up marketing materials, relate to all these different pieces. So the relationships really build up the meaning within here too. We can do upselling, cross-selling, the different components, parts, all of those different options. And we actually come in and take a look at all of the relations that we have within our table. I just have to go back and forth into our table and then zoom out because I have a small screen. But we're able to see where this all is. So we're able to see the marketing pieces, the main content and everything, but then also other products that it's related to. So for example, maybe out of your MDM and your PLM or something like that, you're pulling in this table, you're pulling in this chair, but you really want to market a set. So somebody else can come in here and create a set, and we can come in and take a look at this table and chair set, and we're able to pull in that information as well. So this is a piece of that we're able to pull together, and then we can build that up and sell this set along with being able to have the individual items. But the benefit of this and all these relations is that's going back to that screw again. You're going to be able to see that that screw is used in a table, in the chair, and then also in this table and chair set. So no matter where it is, we have all these relationships. We're able to pull out that information. And I'm just going to zoom back in.
Hey,
and then,
Chris, for those in the audience, and I don't know if you'd relate to like I have. You come back from that big box retailer and you're going to put this bookshelf together, and it's got 4,000 screws and parts and everything, and you got it laid out on your floor, and you're missing a whole package. And you call customer service, they can go in, type in that SKU or that product name, find those and send them directly to you because they have all the information here. It's not stored in some other silo that they may or may not have access to it. It doesn't have legacy information. So if it's a discontinued product, they will still be able to service this customer because it is a one source of truth. So it's going to drive cross sells, upsells, because you now have all the relationships that are built inside the system.
Yes, exactly. So we take a look at our components. We'd say that it's made up of this chair, which that chair is made up of this component, and so on and so forth, all the way down the line. Really gives you that ability to find all the information, but also gives you accountability too. So in a manufacturing like this, to be able to find the pieces that make that up is very important. But as Ken was saying too, like on the food service things, where you're looking at like being able to trace back where did these come from, or where did this come from, you're able to see that too, so that you know exactly if there's a recall or something. All that information then is able to be pulled back as well. So again, same information for a lot of this, but we're able to pull in different information too. So we already talked about like a disclaimer called a feature story here, but we're also able to do something with these text blocks. So taking the metadata that is set on a product, we're then able to build up sentences. We have one client we're working with, we're calling these Mad Libs. So you're actually able to fill in a sentence so that it's always using the same information. This one's pretty easy. We're just saying dimensions, width, height, and depth, but you can say like, hey, our product name has the dimensions of X by X by X by X, and then make that so that you're always talking the same tone of voice and having that information controlled. So your marketing team can control these. Then using that data, you know that it's always up to date. So you're not having somebody else writing a snippet or something like that in InDesign or a Word document, and then if something changes, oh, how to make sure that we update that. This is always going to be up to date automatically within here. And then this can be used then also to automatically create some product sheets. So these are renderings that we have directly out of here where we're taking the information, again, that's related together. We have our brand, our images, our pricing, and then down here too, I know it's a little tough to see, but here you can actually see the dimensions as well with the product description. So everything within here is always going to be up to date, and this will always change. But then how do we get this out? One of the things we were talking about is making sure that we're able to get this out down the line. We actually have the ability to do push button publishing. So once we set up the metadata, we can set up different groups like who do we want to target for this? Who do we think is a good sell for this? So if we know who our customer is on our website, we can promote this product a lot easier to them. Where do we want this to go? But then we also come in and just push our go live button. Say where do we want it to go? Again, completely configurable for where we want this to go. So we can publish out to our website. And then also we're publishing this out to Shopify. So if we go into our Shopify site here and take a look at our products, we can see our table and share set is here, and we pulled everything over. So we can see all of our information here within our pricing, our inventory. This is just set up to pull in some of the information, like a shorter description, completely configurable to meet your needs. We also take a look at this, what this would look like on a site. So they're able to actually order this out coming from our Shopify site. So all of this information is tied together. And if we ever need to make an update to something, so most likely you're going to be pulling this information from an external system. But if we needed to have a price update or something, we can come in here and just change our price. And then this is actually going to then update this, not only on our child assets that we have within here as well, but it's also going to update here. We can see that already within our pricing. If we jump over to Shopify again, we're able to see that this price has changed. So it's already automatically updating. And now that I stalled enough, I'm hoping that this PDF has regenerated. And it hasn't yet. So this will just take a second to, oh, there it goes. You can see the preview going. I need to stall for another second. So now we can see that this is updated. So we can see that pricing is updated automatically there too. So it's very easy for you to see where everything is done and how this is all controlled.
So imagine if a manufacturing customer changes the specification in one product, and how many different PDFs or sheets that it goes from 10,000 pounds to 10,500 pounds, where you have to manually update that data. Chris just showed you that is an asset inside the system potentially that can update across the platform and all these different relationships, auto-generating a new PDF to then serve up either to your website or to even send to your into a portal, or even to your B2B if they're reselling it. You're keeping your data in compliance in real time to ensure that the customers are making the right decision at every moment. So that is key to a lot of the metrics that we're seeing around manufacturers with existing Censhare customers.
Yeah. And one last thing I wanted to show in here before we get to the wrap up is we're also able to tie this into InDesign documents. So if you're doing print books, or if you're doing brochures or different things like that, you can actually take your product and drag and drop that directly into a template in Censhare, and it's going to update this in InDesign. So this is actually running it into a template that was designed by somebody in marketing, and then somebody that doesn't know anything about InDesign can actually do this and update this. So if you have to do product books or anything, we're able to do that directly within Censhare, and this is all linked back to that product again. So not only are we seeing that we have the pricing and everything here, again, if there's an update to that, if there's a price change, or if there's a text change, everything's going to be automatically updated within here by just a push of a button. So you don't have to worry about anything being out of sync. And that's one of the biggest benefits that we have, is that everything gets related together. You can see where it is. You update it once, it goes to many different places. Relationships build up that meaning to help you be more effective.
Yeah, with if you're a manufacturer and you take 6 to 9 months to build a catalog, and by the time you release it, very likely it's outdated, you can trim that into a fraction of effort with some of the automation rules that are built inside this platform. So
yeah, to go back quickly to our the Vitra partner, the Vitra client, when they first started and they tied everything together to their book, they were making a 600-page book. They were able to run a price update at the last second before it went out, and they were saving upwards of $1 million per year by having more accurate pricing because they're able to update it as soon as it went out the door. So let's go back into our summary.
Yep. You know, kind of as we transition, your takeaways here, hopefully you got a lot of valuable information of you know, potentially transitioning from spreadsheets or organized chaos, as we often hear in the shadows of conferences, and the mindset from the impossible to the possible to stay really competitive in our market, especially coming out of the COVID era, you know, just a couple years ago. So building a DAM and PIM foundation is really establishing that successful, super fast go-to-market for any healthy manufacturing company, you know, CPG company, things of that nature. And when it's done well with clean and accurate data, syndicating to e-com sites, to your channel partners, it doesn't have to be painful. You just kind of have to start somewhere, and it's just having a conversation. So
yeah, perfect. Thanks, Ken, and thanks everybody for joining us. Biggest takeaway that we have here too is that if you want to scan the screen here, we have the ultimate checklist for evaluating DAM and PIM solutions. So we have not only a checklist of things to be looking for, either in your current or if you're looking for a new system, but also questions to ask, and then also why do you want an answer on some of those? So why is the benefit, or why are you asking what is your backend database system? So explaining a little bit around the graph database and why it's beneficial to have those relationships. So we have a lot of that information in there. Ken mentioned too at the start, we are going to be at Henry Stewart next week for DAM LA and the PIM LA, I think is what they're calling it too.
Yep.
So hopefully if you're going to be there, please reach out to us. I'll be at our booth and Ken will be around and very easily to find because he's tall within there. I think we have a couple minutes still. I saw some stuff in the chat. Do we have any questions, Ken?
I've been trying to answer them in our chat as they're coming through. So I think we are good. There's some really good questions around CDN strategy. If you have high volume websites that there's a lot of traffic happening, creating a CDN strategy is going to definitely help the process around latency and just looking and pulling all that data forward. So Censhare is not a CDN. I wouldn't suggest any PIM out there or DAM being your CDN. Have that layer to really drive renditions and the right formats and everything to your downstream channels. So
yeah, depending on how you're structured set up too, is that Censhare, when I did that publish, we could publish directly to your CDN, which then could push that information over to your website. Or we also worked with another client that we publish out the site, their CDN captures the whole page and then distributes it that way too. So it's only being loaded once and called from Censhare, and then it's being captured in the CDN. So there's multiple different ways to solve that as well.
Yeah, great questions. You have our emails. Love to hear from you. If not, hopefully we'll get to see you face to face in Henry Stewart. But we definitely appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll talk soon.